All right, welcome in, sports fans and tabletop tacticians. We are getting right into the action today because this explainer is a full, high-octane playbook breakdown of a game called Golden Goal. It's a brilliant two-player design by Korn Van Moorsel, featuring some incredibly dynamic art by Sai Beipu. Look, if you've ever felt that sheer, heart-pounding tension of a tied match going straight into sudden death, you are absolutely going to love this one. We're breaking down the complete beginner's guide on how to play, stripping it right down to the bare essentials so you can get straight out onto the pitch.
So here is our game plan for today's explainer. Number 1, the sudden death stakes. 2, scouting the pitch. 3, match setup and kickoff. 4, movement and passing. And finally, 5, scoring the winning goal.
All right, kicking things off with Section 1, the sudden death stakes. Next goal takes the trophy.
Okay, I want you to picture this. Extra time has officially started. The stadium around you is roaring, but down there on the pitch, you could literally hear a pin drop. The game is tied up. The rule here is incredibly simple and honestly, pretty ruthless. The first team to score wins instantly, period. That is the exact premise of Golden Goal. You aren't sitting down to play a slow, methodical 90 minutes here. You are being dropped directly into the climax of a championship match. Every single move you make could be the one that hoists the trophy, or it could be the one that leaves you totally in the dust.
And you know, this perfectly illustrates why the game feels so intense right out of the box. Because this entire tense, highly tactical two-player match, it plays out in a blistering 15 minutes. It's a tiny box game, but it packs the emotional punch of a massive stadium final. You just do not have time for a slow build-up. You've got to be tactical, decisive, and aggressive from the very first blow of the whistle.
Moving on to Section 2, Scouting the Pitch. Know the board.
So, unfold that field map between you and your opponent, and let's break down your turf. The field is essentially just a grid made up of square spaces. Honestly, it's very much like a chessboard. Now, only one player meeple can ever occupy a single space at a time. You've got a center line dividing the pitch perfectly in half, and a center circle right in the middle where the kickoff goes down. Now, pay really close attention to the defensive zones here. Each side has a penalty box, and this area is heavily restricted. You can only ever have your keeper and a maximum of one defending outfielder inside it at any given time. Right in front of your actual net are two special spaces, and only your keeper is allowed to step foot in those. And finally, let's talk about the edges. Player meeples can actually step out of bounds and move through those outer areas to get around a block. But the ball? No way. The ball has to stay on the actual playing field at all times.
All right, Section 3, match setup and kickoff. Putting boots on the pitch.
So, the first crucial tactical point of the game is how you draft and place your team. The ball starts dead in the exact center of the board. Each player takes their 5-player meeples and you just take turns placing them, one by one. Here is the tactical placement puzzle you've got to solve before the game even starts. First, your keeper absolutely must start in one of the two spaces right in front of your net. Second, you have to place 2 to 3 of your outfielders on your half of the pitch, and exactly one of them has to be inside the center circle. Finally, you have to push the attack by placing 1 or 2 of your outfielders deep on your opponent's half, just making sure they aren't inside the center circle.
Now you might be wondering, who actually gets to start placing their team first? Well, the rulebook has a fantastic, thematic little way to decide this. Whoever watched or played real-world sports most recently gets the honor of the first pick. It's just a really great little nod to the fans right out of the gate.
Okay, with the teams placed, it is officially kickoff time. Both players roll the dice, whoever gets the higher roll wins, and hey, if it's a tie, just re-roll it. Now this builds a really fascinating dynamic right away. The kickoff winner gets to immediately move the ball to their player in the center circle, and then they kick it a number of spaces exactly equal to the difference between the two dice rolls, so it's this quick burst of momentum. But check this out, the kickoff loser doesn't go home empty-handed. They actually get to take the first official full turn of the game. So it perfectly balances out the initial luck of the dice roll with immediate tactical board control.
Which brings us to Section 4, movement and passing, controlling the ball.
All right, action time. On your turn, you roll the dice. The pips on your dice dictate your total movement points. You choose exactly 1 player meeple to move, and you spend those pips to move them space by space. Let's look at what you can and cannot do here. You can move orthogonally, meaning up, down, left, right. You can change direction as much as you want during that movement. You can absolutely move through spaces you've already been in, and like we mentioned, yes, you can dip out of bounds to sneak around a defender. But what you absolutely cannot do is move through or into other players. It's a solid physical barrier. And here's the golden rule of movement. If you move your player into the ball, they must immediately stop their movement. Why? Because you're taking a shot. It's time to kick.
Kicking is where the real geometry of this game completely shines. If your player hits the ball, here is the sequence you follow. First, you pick a direction for the ball to travel, and this can be orthogonal or diagonal. Second, the ball moves one space in that direction entirely for free. Finally, if you still have unused dice pips left over from your movement roll, you can spend them to continue moving the ball, one space per pip, in that exact same direction.
Now pay really close attention to this specific number, 45 degrees. Because once per kick, you are allowed to change the ball's direction by exactly 45 degrees at any point along its path. It's amazing because it allows you to literally bend the ball around defenders, perfectly threading the needle to set up a killer shot. You just have to remember two things. The ball can never move through an opponent, and unlike your players, the ball can never ever go out of bounds.
And what happens if that carefully angled pass connects? Boom! If the ball reaches a teammate, they immediately kick it again. This means you can chain multiple passes together across the pitch in a single turn. You can pass it forward, have it bounce right back to the exact same player, and then launch it again, as long as you're following those core rules. Once you are totally out of pips and the ball stops rolling, your turn is over. Oh, and by the way, if you didn't manage to kick the ball at all on your turn, you still have to spend all your rolled pips moving your chosen player just to reposition for the next play. No wasted energy out there.
Let's wrap it up with Section 5, scoring the winning goal, finding the back of the net.
So, you've maneuvered your players, you've chained your passes together, and now you are staring right down the opponent's keeper. To score and instantly win the game, the ball has to move from one of the two specific net spaces right in front of the goal, and it must completely cross the goal line. But there's this incredibly satisfying little detail cooked into the rules here. If you shoot from inside the penalty box and the ball hits a goalpost, it automatically bounces right into the net. It so perfectly captures that heart-stopping moment in real soccer when the ball pings off the woodwork and goes in. And the absolute second that ball crosses the line, the game ends. The first team to score takes the glory right then and there.
Now, since Golden Goal is so incredibly fast, again, we're talking about 15 minutes a game, you're probably going to want an immediate rematch. The rulebook actually includes some pretty great variants if you want a longer session. You can play a first-to-3 mode, you can set a time limit for the match, or even play the last chance variant to kind of mix up that sudden death dynamic. It makes the whole system highly replayable.
And that brings us to the final whistle of our playbook. You know the setup, you know how to execute a pass, and you know how to strike. So, when extra time is ticking down and the entire game is on the line, will you be the one to find the perfect shot, or are you going to watch your opponent steal the win? Grab a copy from allplay.com, hit the pitch, and find out for yourself. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and until next time, keep your head in the game.